Hi everyone, Michelle here from the Creative Cove. Thanks for joining me today. I thought I would show you a video on how I made these cute little paper drawings. I have done this technique in the past. I just love this technique. And I recently released a video on how to draw a pine cone. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of incorporate the two backgrounds using watercolor, distressed ink, and distressed oxide ink, and pen. So let's have some fun. It's my approach to watercolor is very loose. If you've seen me in the past, I just have fun slapping down water and diluting watercolor and just sticking it on and see where it takes me. So this is a cheapy piece of watercolor that I just taped down with some washi tape, and I do reuse the washi tape, which is great. It's a great way to get these nice finished edges. It's usually pretty darn waterproof, that tape. And it sticks enough that I can use it several times, which is awesome. So I'm just wetting the paper, and you can see it's a pretty used piece of paper. There's some markings on it already because I'm a messy crafter. But I try not to waste anything. So I just throw it in a pile, and then I'll pull it out when I am ready to use. When I'm ready to use some more paper. Now I'm just using up these palettes as well. I taught a class, so I'm using up some of the watercolor that is still in them, and that's the beauty of watercolor, is it just gets reactivated. And I'm just dropping it in wherever. I'm using my usual color palette of blues and browns. It is my go-to. I can't help myself. I just love to use it. So here is the Distressed Oxide Vintage Photo. Now this is really old, so I don't mind adding water to it and pulling the color out. So when it's nice and light like this, it kind of goes a yellowy color, which is really pretty. At least I think so. And I want to make sure I just get all my edges. So I thought I'd do one of the quick paintings, and then I have one under this palette here that's already dried so that we can draw on it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to draw on it. I also have some raw sienna here, watercolor. I'm going to throw some of that in. This is a really pretty warm color. Try and grab a little more. I don't even have a watercolor brush. This is just a cheapy dollar store brush, because I'm really just having fun slapping the color down. And I've shown this a few techniques on how to use this kind of style watercolor painting. It's really just a pretty background. And there's really no way of mimicking this kind of watercolor background without doing this style, because the watercolor itself is just so unique to its nature that there's no replicating it with other material. You can water down acrylics, but still just not quite the same. So I'm gonna see if I can splatter some of this, and then I'll move this aside and we'll let it dry. So we won't get to draw on this one today because takes a little while to dry, but I just want to show you the loose technique. Literally, what was that, not even 10 minutes, 5 minutes to put that watercolor down. So now I've got it down. I did add gold, so I'm going to show you how I add a little gold. I've got this really pretty gold paint here. So I just throw a little bit. Sometimes it takes this gold a little longer to activate. So I'm just gonna, it's a very dark day today, so I'm sorry if it's dark in the video. It's raining, and I'm just dabbing in some gold. We're gonna add some more gold after. So you can't really see it on the camera until I move it and it shines, but I have some on my one here. So I thought we'd draw a pine cone. Woo! So I do have a video on how I do that, so I'm not going to go into super detail. I'm going to bring you in a little bit here. I'm sorry, my camera is very slippy today. There we go. It's way below my head, so I can't see anything. Flip this over. I just want to make sure I'm in frame here. I'm gonna move over a little. There we go. So I'm going to use a micron. What have I grabbed here? A 0.02 micron pen, and it's archival, which means when it touches water or anything like that, it's not going to spread and bleed. So it's going to stay true. So I'm just going to put a pine cone in. So I'm going to start at the bottom. And I will link the pine cone, how to sketch a pine cone video. But like I said, I'm not going to go into super detail. I just want to have fun today. This is more of a draw along, paint along, kind of craft along with me type video today. And I'm just going to sketch it in, work my way up the pine cone, and I think I'm going to make it curve. So maybe put a dot up here so I remember. And then another one here. And I really love this loose approach to sketching and watercolor. It can take you in so many different directions and open up so many creative avenues, because there's no pressure to it. It's just having fun. At least in my opinion it is. So just keep doodling here. And I try to recess them back. So I always start at the bottom of the pine cone and just darken up, make any adjustments I might want as I'm drawing it up. I do want it to curve. And I'm going to make my pine cone a little bit more spindly, like it's been on the ground for a long time. And pine cones are fun to draw because you can draw them in so many different stages. There's a lot of different species of pine cone, whatever you can find around. I've been waiting a long time to see pine cone because we've been buried in snow here for so long. So I finally found one on the ground the other day, picked it up and started sketching. I can't wait for spring for that reason alone, just to start seeing all the new growth and all the different stages it goes in. So as I move closer to the top of my pine cone, my branches are going to get, make sure I'm in frame here, they're going to get a little bit thinner and a little bit narrower. And then I can come back and fill out any spots I might be missing. So just scribbling away. And I just love the softness that this watercolor leaves behind. So you have the nice black ink, and then you have the soft watercolors behind you. And you can, of course, choose any palette you like. I think I'm going to do a video on palettes, on how you can choose some, because I struggle with that myself. Like I said, I'm always drawn to the blues and the browns together, but it'd be nice to venture out and try a different palette. Now, I am limited for the colors that I have in my watercolor collection. I only have a handful because I'm not an avid watercolor artist. I just like to dabble. So I might venture out and treat myself to a couple more colors at some point. I think I'd like to get into the greens, the olive greens and things like that. Might have to figure out a way to mix my own. So there, I've got a cute little pine cone. I really like that. I don't think there's too many spots I want to add any further pieces coming out. But what else could we do here? So maybe we could do, I could do another one going out this way, just for fun. So we only get a little bit of it before it goes off the page. So I'm going to do another branch. And again, just have fun doodling. So this one's curving this way. So you could rotate your paper, of course, so it's a little bit easier, but I'll try and keep mine in the same way if you're drawing along with me, which I hope you are. Just scribble that in. And these little dark segments separate these so-called kind of petals, hardwood petals. I guess they're segments of some kind. I'm sure they have a technical name. If you know what it is, leave it in the comments, because I'm notorious for not knowing parts of plants as much as I love to draw them. Okay, just keep scribbling here. Right off the page. That's good. I'm just going to rotate my wrist this way because it's hurting. Change the shape of that one a little bit. I don't know, I've got one going that way and one going this way. So maybe we'll put the branch in itself. So this is going to attach to a main branch. And then we have the other branch going behind it a little bit. And then maybe it goes off into other little branches. So when you're drawing branches, you want to make sure that you stay pretty thin. So I'm going to do a tutorial on trees as well at some point when I have some time. But you want to keep your branches thin, and as they move away, as they grow away, they get thinner and thinner. So the fatter you do your branches, the longer your branches have to be, kind of thing, to thin them out. It's hard to explain that, but you'll see what I mean when I do the tree tutorial. So I'm just going to do the little green wispy pine here. Again, not a lot of detail, just the texture is implied. And maybe another one coming off here. And it really plays against that watercolor nicely. At least I think it does. And if you're from different parts of the world, you'll have different kinds of pine trees. You might not even have any pine trees. You might have a whole different kind of tree I've never seen before. So if you live in a place far away from me, please share your sketches of your trees and your kind of cones or whatever, nuts or whatever that grow near you. I would love to see that. I just find it fascinating. So do another one coming back here. Just to introduce that texture over here. So you want to do a pleasing composition. I don't want to darken them too much because I really want the pine cone to stand out. There we go, something like that. Maybe one right here. Because why not? You can reinforce some of the... So to reinforce, we could go back to our brush in water, and we could use more of our ink, throw that in there, and just kind of darken up those shadows. I do like this pop of white from the background where no ink or watercolor touched it. It's kind of fun contrast. A little more water on my brush. Just kind of pop those shadows a little more, and this is where I want to pop the gold paint as well, because I just love gold paint. Gold watercolor paint is the best. So let's see if I can get this guy activated. They tend to dry over a little bit, my paints, and it takes a little bit to get her. Gonna rub on it a bit. There we go. So it's got a nice layer of gold on there, and maybe I'll touch the top, and I'll move it so that you can see the iridescent shine of the gold. And it's very loose. I'm not worrying about penciling those in perfectly. Just kind of dabbing the ends and dropping that gold, and it will dry and it will shimmer. Maybe add a little bit more in the corners here, because you can never have enough gold paint. And just pop it in wherever you want, just wherever you want a little shimmer. You can splatter it too, that's always a nice effect. So this piece of paper that I have is folded over on itself, because I was thinking I would make it a little card if it turns out. And of course you also want to sign your work somewhere, just a little signature somewhere. And then we'll pull the tape off, which is always very satisfying. See what we can pull away. And then I just tape this to my table so that I can reuse this washi tape. See how waterproof it stays? It's great. Pull this piece first. And this is like, oh, cheap watercolor, cheap washi tape. So you can see it did bleed after all, but that's okay. It just adds to the effect. So if it's bleeding up there, let's maybe make it bleed a little at the bottom so it's a little more uniform. It looks a little bit more deliberate. And since it did leak, so we'll just put a little bit on the bottom too. Well, that's unfortunate. I was hoping we'd have nice crisp lines, but we can still play on that. It's not a disaster. Never panic. Never panic when it comes to art, because these kind of mistakes force you to think outside of what you would normally do. So let's have fun with this. Oh, my pen has died. Let's have fun with this bleed. And I don't think it's so wet, that's why it's not working. And give ourselves a visual outline. Sorry, going through a lot of pens here because the paper's still a little wet. And just kind of play up that corner a little. So make it look a little bit more intentional than what we had in mind. So never panic. You know, work with what you've done and find a way to resolve something you might not like. So I didn't want it to bleed, but it did. So now I've got to figure out a way to make that work in my favor. So now I'm going to darken up the corners here, if I can get my pen to work on this wet paper, and make this even more obvious, the bleed. And I don't mind it now. I need more pens. Oh boy, I go through so many pens. It's outrageous. I should need a sponsor for pens. There. Cute little card. And hopefully you can see that shimmer of gold. Let's see if I can move it around a little bit so you can see it. I can see it there. Hopefully you can see it there, but it makes such a... I'm gonna just move you up a little bit. My camera is getting so loose. I need a new stand for it. But there you go. There's the and it's a cute little card. There you go. Plug right through. You never know. But I think that's a really fun use of using that watercolor technique. And you could do bigger pieces and frame them. This one I used a little bit of a white pen. Do I have that white pen handy? I don't think I do. But just a white gel pen, and what it does is it goes onto the distressed ink and absorbs that color of the ink, so it tones the white pen down. It's not a stark white. Now with watercolor, without ink, it would probably stay white, but with the ink it does absorb in. But isn't that fun? I think it's fun. And it's just a fun way to, you saw how quick we did that, and you can sketch anything you like, and now you have these beautiful, unique cards. So, hope you enjoyed that. Hope you give it a try. Check out the other video on how to draw pine cones. It will slow the process down for you. You can follow along with me. I have several other kind of cookie sketches you can try, and I hope you find something you like. And please subscribe and check out my Etsy store if you're interested in supporting my channel. It's greatly appreciated. And thanks for joining in today, guys. Have a great day. Bye.